Alright guys, what's going on? So I haven't said that one in a while. I got a really exciting kind of feature for you here this morning. A lot of y'all have been asking for this one, and when I say a lot of y'all, I'm kind of speaking more specifically to the fruit lovers, the fruit geeks, the ones that are kind of into the specialty stuff. So today I'm in Central Florida and I'm with one of my good friends, Adam from Flying Flocks Fruits, and a lot of you might know Adam. And when I first got into this, I think I was just starting to buy plants, 6-7 years ago, and I was at one of these big nurseries here in Central Florida. I think it was actually called Green's Nursery, and in the back he had like these 4 or 5 monster greenhouses that was stacked with all these miracle fruits and jaboticabas and all this rare stuff. And I'm like, hey, what's going on in there? And Ray tells me he's got a rare collector that keeps all his stuff over here, and his name's Adam. Well, long story short, I look Adam up, I find him. I think by the time I actually found him, he got those plants out of there into this location. I think he's gotten rid of some of those plants now, but Adam is just a rare collector of jaboticabas, eugenias, pollinas, Garcinias, you name it, he collects it. He's got so many different rare varieties here. It kind of like blows my mind. Every time I come, I leave with stuff I've never had or seen or heard of before. So be prepared. And I think the really cool thing about this feature is a lot of these plants that Adam specializes in do really good in a pot. Can be grown in a container long term, can be grown on your porch. So you don't have to have a big yard. You don't have to have a food forest to grow some of the stuff you're gonna see here today. So definitely hang on. There's gonna be lots of cool plants, lots of stuff that, like I said, you can just be growing on your back porch. And as y'all know, if you've been following my channel, jaboticabas are probably one of my favorite fruits. They make the most delicious little grape that grows right on the trunk of the tree. I enjoy pruning them. I enjoy eating the fruits. I enjoy looking at the trees. They're just kind of like a collector's item for me. So hold tight. I think you guys are going to enjoy this one. I don't know how long we're going to be here, but Adam's got like all kinds of weird stuff to geek out on. You're going to hear all types of botanical names you've never heard before. So hold tight. This is going to be epic. Where are we at, dude?
We're at Flying Fox Fruits in Sanford, Florida.
Nice. What are you growing out here, dude?
Oh, I grow all the rare stuff you probably never heard of.
All right.
That's my thing. I'm big on the jaboticaba. That's my big thing. And I specialize in certain genera or whatever. And mainly Plinia, Eugenia, Porteria, Garcinia, and Annona is what I focus on. I have a bunch of different jaboticabas that are new varieties that were selected here at my farm, and this is one that I'm like kind of excited about. It's probably just a red jaboticaba seedling, but this is the first fruit on it, and it's real big. You see it's way down there in the dirt. And there's some more flowers coming if I twist it around here. Right about there, you see them on the bark, right there.
Yeah.
Go ahead, pick it. All right. Historic here, first time. I like to twist them off.
First time, huh?
Yeah, I like to kind of twist them off so they don't rip the little stem. You can cut them if you want it, but see, it's got a little stem, and that's a decent sized fruit. And there it is.
Whoa, we're already here? Is this number one?
That right there is Rollinia biriba, and they changed the name to Annona mucosa. Used to be Rollinia deliciosa, and that's a grafted one that I've been working on. And I actually sent my plants to Pine Island for them to propagate, because they're going to be able to do it so much better than me. I can't keep up with this. It doesn't like the cold.
Dude, these are all different varieties, or what?
Yeah, it's a little overwhelming, man. Yeah, this is one right here that I got from Ben Poirier. I'm gonna mess his name up. Ben's Plants. I think he's out of Escondido, California. He just called it ribbed, but I don't know exactly which species it is. I'm thinking it's just Plinia cauliflora, maybe. But you'd think it's the same tree as this right here. But this is a totally different one. It looks just like it. If you take the leaves and you crush them up and smell them, Absolutely different.
Really?
Yes, sir. And this one I got from a collector in Brazil via seed, and I don't know the variety on that one. But this is a new one we introduced called, I think it's called Roxa pulpa, or purple pulp is the translation. And the pulp on it is a vivid, deep pink coloration, and that's Plinia cauliflora.
Whoa.
I got 3 of them right here. It's kind of hard to see, but there's 3 of them right there. It's another new one that I introduced, or somebody introduced it, but this is an heirloom variety, Plinia species. You know, I don't know the species, but they call it ruby honey, and it also has like a pink colored pulp. It's supposed to be super sweet. And I got another one called jeez, you're gonna make me forget these names now. This one is, give me a second. Oh gosh, black velvet. It's one that has black skin, fuzzy textured skin like the Grimille. It's supposed to be super sweet. Green dreams, baby.
What's this tall tree behind you? Is that some kind of...
This is Eugenia calycina, and it's a close relative of Eugenia uniflora, the cherry of the Rio Grande.
Okay.
This one's actually grafted onto cherry of the Rio Grande, believe it or not.
Are these those longer fruits?
Yeah, they're longer fruit. Some of them kind of have like a little bit of a funky flavor, but people get used to it. And then some don't have that flavor at all. It tastes a lot like a cherry of the Rio. But yeah, you might be able to see the graft union down here. If I pick this away, there's 2 different. There's the root stock.
Wow.
And then there's the scion.
All right, dude. All kinds of rareness.
Bunch of rareness. This is another close one that looks just like this looks like the black velvet, but that's actually called Peluda de Mucuri. You know, I'm butchering a lot of these names today because of the Portuguese. You know, I don't know how to pronounce it exactly. But this is another one that's black and fuzzy. I also think it's called the doctor's jaboticaba. They got a lot of these fruits have 2 or 3 different common names, and which makes it confusing for people because they collect it once, then they collect it again.
Yeah.
See, this one's actually grafted Mircea strigipes. It's like the yellow jaboticaba, but this one seems a little more cold hardy, and the fruit's got a smaller seed and a thinner skin. They're still pretty small, but it's got a nice like citrus apricot flavor.
Oh wow.
Oh, you'd really enjoy it. This one here is really pretty, Plinia spiritosantensis, and it for a little while was confused with the Grimille because it also has that black fuzzy skin, which is really unusual. But this is a whole nother species, and nobody's fruited this yet in United States.
Wow.
Not yet. You know, a lot of these have not, haven't fruited in the United States. This one, for the longest time, was confused with the botanical name for the regular, just yellow jaboticaba is Mircea glazioviana. That's the cabaluda or yellow jaboticaba. Well, they used to call it Mircea glomerata. You know, everywhere you went, it was listed as glomerata. This is the real deal glomerata, and it makes a red fruit, like fire engine red. It's super rare, and pretty difficult to grow because of the pH. The high pH just chews it up. You know, the leaves do you see the burnt tips on it?
See it on a couple over here, yeah.
I've got it. Once you get it over the hump, it's easier to grow. But for the first year or 2, you get a lot of chlorosis, burnt leaves. Hates city water. That's almost ready to fruit too. They fruit in about 3 years, 4 years if you're lucky. This one needs, the pH was wrong on this, and this got chlorotic. You can fix that with chelated iron, and you drench with the chelated iron because the roots in the soil is where the problem is, and when you add that chelated product, you're lowering the pH.
So that's pro tip.
Pro tip.
All right, I like pro tips.
I got it from Chris Rollins actually. He told me that. Yeah.
Nice. So that is not a jaboticaba or Eugenia or anything along those lines. These are actually butterscotch sapodillas, and if y'all have seen my Gary Zill's video, this is kind of one of those 2 trees I scored while I was there. They were very limited supply. I see Adam's got like 15 or 20 of them here. I got 2. I had to beg for 2. These are definitely rare, pretty hard to come by. I'm taking it Adam probably knows somebody to get his hands on these things, so Really exciting new variety. Thank you, Zills, for all your awesome work with, you know, genetic breeding and crossing and this epic new variety.
This is a tree from Charles Novak in Plant City, who is responsible for a lot of introductions on these Plinias. I basically just got to go to his house and pick through all the hard work he did for 30 years and basically take, you know, he let me take all the cuttings I want and sort through what he had. This one I thought for a long time was Plinia coronata, but it turns out it's most likely a hybrid of Plinia trunciflora and Plinia jaboticaba. The most common variety is Plinia jaboticaba sabera, and we think that this is a hybrid of that with trunciflora. Wow. Makes a big fruit, and they hang down like trunciflora off the stem, and sweet, and this seems to produce more than trunciflora. You know, trunciflora makes 1 or 2 crops. This will 4, 5 crops. And it fruits sooner. Trunciflora takes 15, 20 years. This we got to fruit from graft in maybe 3 to 4 years. And then this is the real deal, you know, the trunciflora. As you can see, the leaf tips kind of burnt, which is typical. You see that a lot on these jaboticabas. I think it has to do with minerals in the water quality. And they grow out of it. You know, the new growth is fine. Don't worry too much if you see burnt leaf tips. When that new growth flushes out with the red, the deep red color, you're good. We got to maybe wait for the air traffic.
The old sandhill cranes coming through.
Yeah, these are probably 20 years old.
Really?
And they have not fruited yet. Whoa. They have not flowered yet. They're close. I mean, my friend's just flowered. Ray Bayer, who's another great collector who I owe a lot to, his just flowered too. So this is one I got from Toppy, actually, of the same species.
Oh, really?
Yeah, this is one from Toppy.
So you dug up the whole tree on this
He
one?
just dug it up with the bobcat and threw it in the back of my truck. I actually have pictures of that day. We documented it. I think it's been 7 years now.
Wow.
And this thing struggled and struggled, and it's alive. The leaf tips are burnt real bad, but it's alive. And when you're looking at a tree, and at least when I try to judge a tree's health, I'm looking at the old wood. If the bark and the old wood looks decent, you're good. But if it's totally covered with lichens and it hasn't peeled in a while, that means it's not growing. You know what I mean? Like Toppy was saying, when the tree's covered with lichens, it hasn't exfoliated and been growing. And when a tree's happy, it's going to shed all the stuff on its bark. And so you can tell a tree's happy if it's been peeling. This one has lichens on it, so it's not super happy, but it has peeled too. I mean, I can see where it's been exfoliating. So it's alive, you know, it's kicking. These are some black sapotes I got from Australia. This one I think was called Flying Saucer or like Giant Mossman. They have all these different names. And I think this one's called Goose Egg. This is another one. I planted 2 varieties right next to each other. We had one year with 25 degrees. This one didn't die back at all. That one died back to the ground.
Wow.
So they have varying cold tolerance based on variety.
You guys get pretty cold here in Sanford, right?
This is like 105 degrees in the summer, 25 degrees in the winter. It's hotter, one of the hottest places in Florida, and it's pretty darn cold for my area. We're at like 10 to 15 feet elevation. This used to all be a celery field, actually. And they ruined all the aquifers by just, you know, they did the artesianal wells and just let all that fresh water churn up. And I guess there's like a membrane of fresh water in the aquifer. And when you churn that up, it just finally introduces that salt water. So here, if you have a deep well, it has salt water intrusion. So I don't have, it would be nice to have a deep well, but I run several shallow wells, and you're able to avoid the salt that way, you know, and yeah, lots of iron, sulfur. Patangatubas, this is one of the trees I'm so excited about. You know, I don't know many other fruits that will handle a freeze, superheat, drought, some flooding. They look beat up right now because we had such like a dry spring, and they never got a chance to throw on new leaves.
A little sparse still.
Yeah, but they are kicking out fruit and blooms like crazy. The squirrels have been beating me up. They like to eat that seed out, green, and I don't have the heart to shoot the squirrels. So I got some really nice fruit though. There's some over here. Some people say they taste like a mango. Some people passion fruit, peach. Some people just plain hate them because they got so much acidity. But it's like, to me, it's really like a passion fruit. It reminds me of a passion fruit. It doesn't have any of that flavor you'd associate with a Suriname cherry. And you can't graft this onto Suriname cherry. It's, you know, not this.
Unfortunately.
No, you can't. Marula.
Marula.
Yep, I got these from Charles Novak. You need a male, female. They make the drink amarula. It's almost like Bailey's kind of. It's from Africa. I think it's related to Spondius distantly.
Okay.
But I could be wrong about that. I know it's in its own genus all by itself. These died back real bad from the winter and just came right back. So these can handle abuse. You know, anything you see here could take 105 to 25 degrees. And floods.
Have these fruited yet?
No, they haven't. They have it fruit and spice park fruiting.
Nice.
I did a lot of grafted Patangatubas all around the property. I'll try to show them to you, but you see how small they are. And they're just, these have been fruiting already. They look a little haggard because we haven't gotten any rain, but they're gonna come back, you know, they're fruiting and flowering. And then you see I put them real close together, grafted Patangatuba, and then this is Eugenia candoliana, their rainforest plum.
Okay.
They don't like high pH, they don't like wet feet, and they don't like a hard freeze. So I've found here they're not real happy. I should have planted them in more shade. I just put them out here in the full sun.
Big apple light.
They would have done better. In Brazil, where everything's perfect, you could have done full sun. But if your conditions aren't just right, a lot of times putting stuff in part shade, in my, you know, theory is that it doesn't have to metabolize as much, you know what I mean? When you put something out in full sun, it needs more water. If your pH isn't right, now you're hitting it with high pH water more and more. So, you know, the shade usually is a safer bet. Yeah, they smell like grape pez too, like a real nice sweet.
The flowers do?
Yeah, really beautiful aroma. Lemon drop mangosteen. A lot of people call this Garcinia intermedia. I call it Garcinia brasiliensis. So you're gonna get some debate within the scientific community. And
You're gonna get these guys riled up, huh?
yeah, but you know, there's different varieties of this. Some are bigger and better. This is just the common run-of-the-mill one that you see a lot at Fruit and Spice Park, at some of these nurseries. This other one I'll show you in the greenhouse kind of puts this one to shame.
Really?
You know, sometimes.
Are you cold framing this in the winter?
Yes, I am. I got this,
Okay.
like, I have these posts around it. I wrap it with frost cloth multiple times.
No heat or anything, though?
No, just wrap it with frost cloth multiple times. But we can pick some fruit off. I mean, look at all some fruit in here for the box. We can start yanking these off.
Oh, I might have to just make sure those are edible.
Yeah,
Hold on one second
the
here.
skin is edible on this, and
Really?
there's research that it's anti-cancer. You know what I mean? It's astringent. It doesn't taste the best, but I've learned to enjoy eating the skin. So we'll pick some of these to show the variety. You know, this is one variety. I have another variety.
Inside is delicious.
Yeah,
Whoa.
the inside's
The flesh
delicious.
is something else. Mm.
And this is a lot of people in South Florida, they see this as just whatever. You know what I mean? It grows real easy. But up here, or people that are pushing the limits, you know, like I like to do,
Yeah.
this is something different. And then you think about all the nutrition that you're getting from Garcinia that you wouldn't get from citrus, because each plant is unique in its own way, nutritionally, medicinally. You know what I mean? So the more variety you can get, the more health benefits you have in your little arsenal, you know, your cabinet.
Is this grafted, or did you start with
Seed, just a seed,
really?
yeah.
Wow, that's impressive.
So what, you know, I got it from somebody as a gift. This right here is Grimille's jaboticaba, and it was introduced or popularized by Adolf Grimmel. He was a fruit collector, a German guy, friends with Bill Whitman, lived in the Keys, Big Pine Key, and did all the crazy stuff, you know, dug out the soil to change to make acid. And he was a real pioneer, someone who I maybe never met, but this guy influenced my life. You know, every day I kind of feel his presence. You know, I made some money with this guy, you know, we're together. I appreciate what he's done, I really do. This is probably my favorite out of all the varieties I've tasted. This is the one. Big old fruit. It's got a thick skin that you don't want to eat, but the pulp, it's got like a Concord grape flavor, but creamy. And then it's little seeds, you know, and the fruit is big. And this is tough as nails. It takes heat, some drought, You know, it's just more drought tolerant than a lot.
So for people watching, how many times a year does this one normally fruit?
A good year, 4 times.
4 times. Nice.
Not a good year, once or twice.
Once or twice, okay.
Needs water, but you don't want to water too much. When the fruit is set, they'll split. You know, a lot of them won't split. This one's a little weird where like you water when it's fully ripe and it just splits open.
Wow.
Anyway, and it's sensitive to rust. Some of them don't get problems with rust. This one on the leaves, if you get a ton of rain, you'll start to see what looks like rust on the leaves. It's not, this one doesn't have it. Well, I could probably find a piece that does, but anyway, if growers in Hawaii, they'll see that the leaves kind of get chewed up, but the plant will keep going. This Plinia edulis cambuca makes a huge yellow-orange fruit, thick skin, big seed, kind of like a gelatinous pulp. I've heard some people say it tastes like papaya, mango. You know, you can't describe the flavor of this, but it's good. You know, you'd want to taste it. And this could take some cold, probably down to 25 before it totally gets hammered, you know. The bark will start splitting. You'll get tons of dieback, you know what I mean? But something definitely worth growing. Takes anywhere from like 5 to 15 years to fruit, depending on the variety and who's growing it. Yeah, I've seen them fruit in 4 years. But then, you know, I've seen them take 20 years. Just, you know, for people pushing the limits.
Wow, this is just pretty right here.
This is a grafted Plinia aureana. This is just the regular old white jaboticaba or jaboticaba branca. And maybe not the biggest fruit in the world, but I'll tell you, this thing is sweet. We've tested the bricks on it up to 27, you know, when it's really, really ripe. Here's some fruit here. And the nice thing about it is that when it's ripe, it's green. So the birds don't really get all.
That is cool.
Yeah, you know, the birds see it ultraviolet. Anything red or blue is like vivid to them, but the green they avoid. And this fruit's like crazy. I mean, over and over and over and over.
So this is way more than 4 times a year.
Maybe 5, 6, yeah.
Nice.
But yeah, we'll go ahead and take these fruits off and add them to our collection.
Oh, fruit basket display coming.
Yeah, there's them. So this is a grafted cambuca right here.
Really?
Grafted cambuca. I got it from Larry Schatzer's place. He's one of the first dudes in town to fruit that. And he's just, I owe him a lot. He's where I first place I really worked. And I had gone through the books and learned about jaboticaba and read some stuff in the books. And I go to this guy's house, and what you read in the books is not what's really happening. He had all this stuff that was not in the book, and just the guy had assembled an amazing collection, and I owe him a lot. I really do. And this one's flowering in here.
All right, so for all y'all that don't know, Adam literally just took this tree out of like a jail cell. Like, this is like the freak of nature right here. He doesn't let this thing out. When was the last time you moved this tree, Adam?
6 months or more.
6
maybe.
months or more?
Yeah.
All right, so we let it out of the cage. We're gonna talk about this one a little bit.
It's my little baby here. I'm excited to have this tree. I feel like, you know, Little Shop of Horrors. It came from outer space, and you know, I actually got it from a friend, Brian Wright. He was really heavy involved in the fruit clubs in Brevard
County.
Yeah, and he was at a fruit collector's house one day, and he just knew that I was the jaboticaba guy. And he says, Adam, he took all the pictures of the tree. He says, I haven't seen this one. It looks different. He got some seeds. He sent some to me, and he sent some to my buddy Ben in California. I planted some out. They struggled. They didn't grow well. I had 3 of them. This one flowered in 3 years in about a 3-gallon pot, 1.5 feet tall. The others never flowered. One of them died. I gave the other to my friend John Travis Morton, and it's not flowered either. So this is, you know, kind of unique. The other siblings didn't flower. Once this thing started flowering, it didn't stop. And you know, I've seen jaboticabas flower small before, but not like this. It was all over. I mean, from the rooter to the tutor. I mean, all the way from the ground, stem to stern, whatever you want to say, from the dirt to the very tips of the branches, it has fruit on it, you know? I'm gonna start picking these if you don't mind, or should I wait?
No, you can pull them off. Go ahead.
So I just like to twist them off. This is like a little rump, but we'll take it. Maybe it has a seed. And you know, I think this tree is gonna be really important in the future because it fruits so small. You can keep it in a pot, and it could be useful for breeding because it always has a flower open. A lot of these Plinias, you can't time them to get the flowers to be open at the same time to pollinate. But this one is so small and precocious. And
what's this called for people when fruits grow off the trunk of the tree like this?
caulifloris or cauliflory. We got some ants on there for you. Some of the little sugar ants. These
black protein.
Yeah. But they'll invade the fruit if you don't watch it. They'll just start eating into the fruit. They can see the sugars in there. So these, I've tested the bricks on these. Some up to like 23%, which is kind of unheard of. You know, the red jaboticaba I've tested as high as 20, but they're typically like 15, 16%.
Wow.
So this has got a high bricks, so it's exciting. Right here we have Patangatuba next to a Eugenia Candoleana again. This is a planting I've been doing, you know, but this one was from Oscar in Fruit Lovers. And it's got this slender leaf, so this is a different variety of rainforest plum. Wow. It tastes better, it fruits quicker. So a lot of these fruits, you think you've got it, or you think you've tasted it, but there's like a bunch of different varieties of that fruit. So you really need to keep searching and tasting, and sometimes there's something better that you could be growing. You know, it tastes better.
Nice.
So
lots of variations in between, huh?
Oh, all these species, man. Yeah, all of them. Strigipes again, Mirceria strigipes. This fruited but didn't make a ton of fruit. With a lot of these trees, they'll flower several times before they really get a chance to set a fruit. You know, it takes several years of flowering.
How do you say this one again, Adam?
Mirceria strigipes.
Whoa.
I probably butchered the name, but that's how I say it.
This one, how many times a year for fruit?
Maybe two.
Maybe two. Okay.
Yeah. Close relative here.
What do we got?
This is Mirceria. Oh gosh, sorry, I'm gonna have to do that. Mirceria guaquiea.
Whoa.
Guaquiea. And they call it, I think, like guaquisa. I don't know how to say it in Portuguese, but it's another like yellow jaboticaba relative.
Cool looking.
And this takes the cold and the heat, man. And it makes a nice fruit with a smaller seed than the typical yellow jaboticaba.
Nice.
This is, I believe, a hybrid of the Grimille and the red jaboticaba. Yeah, the fruit tastes pretty darn good.
Oh, there's fruit in there.
I want you to taste that one and see if you can notice a difference.
Okay. Got a good skin, that means.
The skin is thicker on that.
Really?
The skin, I don't like this, but the pulp is thicker and the seed is smaller and it has a little different flavor. To the average person, probably wouldn't be able to tell much of difference, but to someone who's tasted before, they can notice these difference. Stacy, put a hat on her.
You like the chicken whisperer over here, Adam?
Hey! Yeah, man, I love chickens. This is my baby right here. She's a good girl. She's a good girl. Oh, she wants to go down.
You listen to him. Nice. Hey, girl.
This guy here, he's a character. Fred. Look at this rooster here.
Whoa, whoa.
Look at this guy.
What's his name, Red?
Fred.
Fred.
Yeah.
Okay, Fred, what up?
He's a good boy. But he trusts me. He's got all these tomato seeds that get on his face, and I pick them off. And
Is that what you're doing right now?
Yeah, he lets me pick them off. He's a sweetheart.
So what does he eat? The Everglades?
He eats the Everglades like it's going out of style.
That's one of his favorites, huh?
Yeah, but this is a good
big boy.
It's a good sized chicken.
Yeah. Oh.
You gotta peck my eye out for everybody? No, he would never do that.
He's good, huh? Cool. Nice.
Another Patangatuba here, and look in here, check it. Look at the size on these, it's nice. Look at that one. Ba 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 boom. Whoa. And then we got ba 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 boom. It could have gone a little longer, but we're gonna pick it now. You can take them in and set them on the counter and they'll ripen up for a day. Ooh. But it's always best to let them, you know, stay on the tree as long as possible. Patangatuba. They also call it star cherry. That's a name I tried to popularize because it looks like a star fruit, but it's a cherry. If you cut them transversely, it looks like a sun or a star.
Those ones are big.
Yeah, they get bigger, man. I had it without the shade cloth and it was getting burnt up by the sun. And I put this shade cloth on and now we've got more rain. It was just so dry and hot, but it can take the heat, but this shade cloth really makes it happy. And let's see if we can find some fruit on here. Here's some over here, check it out. There's flowers coming and fruit. This is a Garcinia called, we don't know that the species has not been, you know, designated. So it's just Garcinia SP. Comes from Luke Vliracker in Mexico, Puerto Vallarta, however you say.
Wow.
And it's like the achacharu, bigger, edible flesh. It's supposed to be delicious, man. Yeah, so it can take a flood.
It's first time fruiting, or it's
Yeah,
fruited?
first time for me fruiting. Other people
Whoa.
have fruited it, but not many. This is one that has really not been, you know, not a lot of people have fruited that in the United States yet. This is a cherry of the Rio Grande from Charles Novak. I didn't notice anything special about it until I cut it in half. It's got deep red flesh. Typically they're kind of like a greenish orange. This is like wine red, and it's really sweet. So a lot of variety there. This is a grafted Ben's Butte cherry of the Rio. I got it from Ben in California. I always butcher his name. It's like a French name, Poirier, I don't know how. This makes a big fruit, a large cherry, but it only fruits once a year, you know, but it takes the cold, takes the heat. Doesn't like a flood, but it will live, you know, it'll handle it.
Ooh, we got a jaboticaba grove?
Yeah, this is the jaboticaba grove. I planted all of the hybrid, the red variety. It's Plinia cauliflora. That they say it's crossed with Plinia aureana. And it fruits really quick from seed, and it fruits a lot more than the common sabara. Sabara is the one that everyone has in the nurseries. They call it Merceria cauliflora, Plinia cauliflora. If you look at the literature, it's Plinia jaboticaba, and the variety is sabara. Okay.
I like the way you said that.
Well, that's how you can throw it. It's sabara. Everybody's got a different way of saying it, and I don't usually correct people. Everybody wants to correct somebody. If you said it and I understood what you said, I'm not gonna correct you. I knew what you said. That's just how you say it. See the flowers on there? Flowers and fruit. This time, okay, the jaboticabas are most active with the flowers and fruiting, usually during times of transition. That would be fall, spring, but then the hottest, coldest times of the year is when they usually shut down as far as reproductive growth. So now, this year's been hot, so this is kind of like summer, and they're kind of shutting down. But we will get a nice increase in activity here coming up. With all
Going
this
from the
rain.
dry to wet help at all?
Yeah, I think the dry, but really I think the heat just slows them down. So, it's important too, when I come through, I'm always doing this. You can use pruning shears, but I'm taking off all these little branches. They're like suckers. They fruit on the old wood, and if you let it get crowded, you're kind of taking away energy from where all the flowers and fruit could be, and it makes it easier to pick. There's arguments for not pruning the tree, especially if you're in pushing zone limits. It's going to keep the tree more hardy to not have all that exposed wood and to have it dense and full. And it also keeps the birds away. The birds can't see it when it's hidden, but it's harder to pick, and you get more fruit when you prune, and it looks better, you know, but it's all a matter of opinion. But I personally, I prune them.
Personal preference.
Personal preference.
Oh, pro tip number 2 there.
They look beat up this time of year too. See how the leaves look all beat up and washed up? That's because they didn't really get shed during the winter. We didn't have a freeze. And then when spring came around, it was just hot and dry. So now it's finally, you see the new growth coming out. Everyone gets worried and said, what's wrong with my tree? Why does it look all blah, blah, blah? It's just give it some time.
Time of year.
Always keep an eye on the new growth. If the new growth is coming out good, you're good. So you see they're peeling like crazy. You see they got the lichens on there like this, which is typical, but now they're coming off. Sign of health, sign of growing. You know, they're splitting at the seams.
Wow. How many you got out here in the grove?
64.
64.
8 times 8.
Right.
They were all planted at the same time. I planted the biggest ones to the north, you know, for the light.
Yeah.
And then, you know, the tiniest one's all the way over here. It's a runt. It hasn't flowered yet. But I'd say about 60% of them have started to flower and fruit.
What's the main purpose of the planted grove, Adam? Is this to sell fruit or
To sell
seed?
fruit.
Okay.
That's to sell fruit.
Okay.
And I have been shipping fruit, but it's hard to keep up. And right now, we don't have a lot of fruit. It's all been limited. But I do post on my Facebook page when I have fruit to ship. So,
Okay, cool.
Yeah. This right here is Sabra. And this is the most common variety that you see in all the nurseries. Takes about 8 to 12 years to fruit from seed. Fruits maybe 4-6 times a year if you're going crazy, doing really well. Delicious fruit. It's the king for a reason. Grows everywhere, highly, adaptable to more soil types. It can handle just a little bit more alkaline. And this is just finally flowered and it's like 12 years old.
Wow.
So I haven't got fruit off of this yet.
That one's pruned, huh?
Yeah, I've pruned it crazily, yes. And it probably needs more nitrogen. I don't feed these enough, Yep. Plinia coronata. This is the one that makes the big fruit with, they call it coronata because it's got a crown. It looks like a white circle at the top of the fruit. And this is the largest fruited variety, they say, this largest fruited species. And there's like 20 different varieties of this species.
What?
Yeah, of all of the, there's so many varieties of each of these species. It's limitless the amount of Plinias, jaboticabas, because there's new hybrids coming out. There's new varieties they're finding in people's yards. It's never ending. This is just a red, and this is the wettest part of my yard. This gets saturated.
Looks like it likes it.
Yeah, it's got in the shade, and look, it's got flowers coming in. Not a lot, but it has fruited. It's got some flowers in there. This is the Afromomum.
Is that the one with the edible flowers you're talking about?
Edible fruit, yeah.
Like passion fruit like?
Yeah, that's what I heard. It's from Uganda.
Okay.
And Soren is the guy from the Tropical Fruit Forum. It's actually flowering down here. It had a beautiful red flower, but they're died off now. And I'm hoping to get fruit set on that. But they use the leaves for cooking. Garcinia brasiliensis, grumichama, Brazilian cherry. You can do leaf cuttings on these too. They pop the leaf off and then bury that a little bit, and then it'll send out a root from the leaf. Yeah,
pretty epic.
They do it with jaboticabas too.
Oh, another pro tip.
Yeah, well, the guys in Taiwan are incredible. The people that the propagators out of Taiwan and Asia, they do stuff I've never seen. It's incredible, man. There's your tree, the Eugenia uniflora.
The dwarf?
Yeah, this is called Dasyblasta.
Okay.
And they call it a smooth variety. But you see all these lichens on the bark? It's usually not a great sign. It could be happier. Those should peel off. But they are peeling down here, but they don't, that's not, those are not good. It's not gonna kill the tree, but a happier tree wouldn't have it. But you see it's growing, so we're good. Yeah. That one there is Plinia Fitrantha ESALQ. That's an acronym for like the university it comes from.
This is beautiful.
Oh man, this is as rare as it gets. Super rare.